cute I always thought you were.
You expected.
Huh? Jim?
It's not what it looks like.
Spicoli's here, so keep your shirts on. Surely you noticed the warning posted on the glass. Bare feet and chests mean no luck today. Understood. Recall when a simple flick about pizza and mall jobs birthed a generation of legends and gold statues. In 1982, Universal Pictures invited us all to visit Ridgemont High. What felt like a sunny teen comedy became a portrait of an era. Crafted by Heckerling and Crowe, the cast featured fresh faces we didn't know yet, including Sean Penn, Judge Reinhold, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Forest Whitaker appeared alongside a young Nicolas Cage. They were just kids hanging out near the food court. Looking back, the class of 1982 carried more secrets than just checkered shoes and wrecked cars. Today, we're diving into 15 strange truths hidden within the halls of Ridgemont High. Wait for number 1. Involving a secret investigation that felt far too real. It involved a real campus and a moment that blurred the lines of teenage life. Subscribe now so you don't end up trapped in a fast food pirate suit like poor Brad Hamilton. Tell us below what memory flashes first when you hear those iconic words. Now, let's head to class, starting at 15. That kid hitting his head with a shoe would one day hold 2 golden Oscars. Ridgemont was meant to be a simple tale of teenage hormones, delivered pizza, and some poor decisions, somehow. This mall comedy became the ultimate proving ground for 3 future legends of the Academy. Sean Penn's surfer dude was busy disrupting class with pizza and becoming the most quoted voice of a decade. Pardon my lateness. This new schedule has me feeling completely turned around. Years later, he'd win for heavy dramas. But in 1982, he was just the boy in checkered shoes. Forest Whitaker was Charles Jefferson, a quiet force who leveled a team after his car was ruined. That simmering intensity was visible long before he claimed his gold. She was truly livid back then. Look closely at the background and you'll spot a young Nicolas Cage playing one of Brad's burger pals. He had originally hoped to play the lead, but the role simply wasn't meant to be his. There is beauty in that early failure, considering the wild, legendary career he eventually built. Even with an Oscar later on, he still carried the heavy weight of those awkward early days on set. This wasn't some highbrow drama. It was most teen flicks leave us with slogans, but this one left us with 3 titans of cinema. Enter Maverick, before sliding across floors or flying jets. Tom Cruise tried out to be the big brother at Ridgemont. I am so sorry, sir, but your money is coming back. I am officially unemployed. He was just a teen then, but he already had that fierce focus that builds empires and blockbusters. That intensity didn't exactly scream guy selling fish sandwiches with a straight face. That was the catch. The creators felt his energy was too sharp for the lovable, clumsy struggle that Brad's character truly needed. Cruise was far too focused. Brad needed to be a guy who could be humbled by life. He moved on to become a global star, leaving the role of the successful senior to someone else. Judge Reinhold arrived, perfectly capturing that classic 1980s energy of an everyday guy. He made that humiliating pirate costume feel so real, capturing a frustration we could all recognize. We loved Brad because we were him, whereas Cruise might have made him someone we actually feared. One small casting choice changed the course of 1982 forever. At number 13, we look at the audition that didn't happen, and the character who never said goodbye. When Sean Penn met the director, he didn't bother opening a script or worrying about a formal reading. There were no prepared speeches. He didn't just want the part. He simply lived and breathed the character. He simply knew the soul of the surfer. If we don't find some better vibes soon, we're fakes. He walked in as if he just stepped off the sand, still carrying the ocean in his shoes. The energy was so perfect, the director knew instantly she had found the legendary surfer she was seeking. Spicoli had arrived. He was the only choice. And the actor stayed in that headspace forever. Penn lived his role from day one, even between takes. He was constantly confused by authority. He just could not be on time. Rumors say he demanded to be called Jeff, even during lunch, on set, if you used his real name. He simply would not respond to you, but call for that surfer. And you would get a chill nod and a lazy wave. Castmates wondered if they were seeing a genius or a man who had spent too much sun. It was likely both, which is hilarious given he became such a serious, intense, dramatic actor. That golden-haired slacker remains his most beloved role. Always wondering what was wrong with the world, it was a philosophy of peace. Looking at life and inviting everyone to join the party. These simple moments have outlasted his most prestigious award-winning performances. He became that surfer for a meeting, and decades later, we still see that same kid. Step 12. The rock legend's rejection. Imagine being the teen reporter who toured with Zeppelin. You would think living on their bus earned you favors. But rock stars have long memories. By 1982, Crowe was a respected Rolling Stone writer, not just a random fan. He had shared their journey and likely kept old backstage passes as treasures from that time. Naturally, when filming his high school masterpiece, he wanted those iconic riffs on the soundtrack. Those sounds were perfect for driving through the valley with windows down in the early 80s. It seemed logical. But in 1982, the band kept their music under heavy lock. They avoided films, with their fierce manager protecting their legacy like a sacred treasure. Even their shared history could not change things. The music remained out of reach. He adapted. But we still wonder how a heavy anthem would have changed those parking scenes. It is a glimpse into a 1982 that almost happened but slipped away. You can be a rock insider, but sometimes even the best connections cannot bypass a refusal. Paperwork rules, even the kings of rock. Step 11, the sneaker that changed everything. Penn himself helped create that iconic, relaxed beach look we all remember from the film. He promised that his father's repair skills could fix any mess they made. That style included those checkered slip-on Vans that became the ultimate symbol of cool. Back then, those shoes were just for kids skating the Southern California coast. Unless you were hanging at the beach, you probably never even noticed them. They were small, until the movie turned them into a must-have for every American teen. It was a massive spotlight for the brand, showing the country what cool looked like. Everything changed because one actor felt those shoes captured his character's spirit perfectly. Amazingly, there were no lawyers or marketing teams involved in this massive fashion explosion. He gave the company 90 minutes of free advertising without asking for a single cent. 40 years later, those checkers are everywhere. The company should build him a pizza monument, or maybe just a lifetime of snacks for the man who defined 1980s footwear. Step 10 brings us to the sacred Sherman Oaks Galleria. The director chose a living mall over a set to capture the valley's true heart. She wanted authentic neon and chaos. So they filmed in an active shopping center. Some background shoppers were likely real people from 1982 looking for a snack, while the burger shop was a studio set. The film's soul stayed at the mall. The real location provided an electric energy that made every storefront feel incredibly alive. The designers did such a great job that we all just accepted this world. It feels true because the foundation of this world was built on real memories. After the movie, this mall became the blueprint for stories about youthful independence. It became a legend overnight, though it was eventually rebuilt in the 1990s. The Galleria vanished. The Arcane is long gone. That fruit drink costs $9 now. But for 90 minutes, that mall lives. We return to being kids who thought those hallways were the heart of the universe. At number 9, the biggest musical betrayal of 1982. One Ridgemont High scene is etched into the mind of everyone who watched. You remember the one? That iconic pool exit in slow motion, fueled a young man's daydream. A hypnotic synth track played while the world seemed to stop spinning. Those notes by the Cars became the heartbeat of that summer afternoon. Hearing that opening chord makes your mind instantly finish the melody. It remains the most famous musical moment in 1980s cinema history. Naturally, you ran to buy the album. But the track was missing. It was not on either side. Just a memory. Legal red tape meant the most vital song was stripped from the 1982 release. To own the film's defining anthem, you had to find the band's 1978 debut separately. To be fair, that record was a masterpiece. So buying it felt right. Still, the irony was thick. The movie's soul was missing from its own official track list. The record label failed us. Truly disappointing. At number 8, we reveal a greasy classroom truth. That classroom lunch delivery became the most echoed joke in 1980s comedy history. A surfer summoned a hot pie right to his desk during a lecture. The courier just strolled inside. He claimed that extra cheese with total chill, never blinking at his own audacity. For real students, this was a blueprint. Before modern apps, rebellious kids tested teachers with actual deliveries. It takes a certain teenage swagger to decide a history lecture needs extra toppings. Yet, the real chaos started only after the theater lights came up. This film transformed a simple gag into a nationwide challenge for students across the country. Kids used payphones to give dominoes their chemistry room number instead of a home. Educators spent the decade hunting down couriers and treating warm slices like forbidden street drugs. The delivery man has arrived again. It was all because one moment planted a glorious, chaotic seed in the minds of a million teenagers. Truthfully, most of us were far too scared of detention to even whisper in class. But those bold enough to follow through became local legends. We have reached the halfway point. Let's linger a moment. Do you recall those arcade afternoons or mimicking that famous surfer drawl? Maybe you acted like you mastered dating through that 5-step strategy. Give us a like for those memories. Which character were you really? Now, let's head to the parking lot for a tragedy at number 7. During 1982, a Chevy Camaro was the undisputed king of the campus. It was a chrome declaration of high status. Driving one was a dream. Destroying one was a death sentence. Our favorite surfer chose destruction. The impact stayed off screen, leaving only the wreckage and a frantic story that felt far more terrifying. Our own minds filled in the sound of crunching metal. If you drove a beat-up clunker held by a prayer, this was pure horror. Then came a desperate scheme. He tried to blame the rival school, armed with nothing but sheer panic and a dream. Incredibly, the star athlete believed every word, vowing to settle the score on the field. That rage fueled a legendary performance. As if the spirit of the ruined car drove his victory, a single mistake led to a tangled web of lies, creating one of the most hilarious dominoes to ever fall in a teen movie. For every kid who could barely afford gas, we laughed while wincing, grateful it wasn't our car. Number 6. If you were just a shy 16-year-old trying to look cool in your brand name polo, those dating rules felt like sacred scripture. But the advice was about to get very interesting. A desperate plea for guidance in the confusing world of teenage romance. Cameron Crowe's nonfiction diary originally featured just 3 rules, not the 5 we remember today. How did that change? The screenplay needed more weight for the persona of Damone, so writers expanded his hollow wisdom. Do you remember? They upgraded the plan to 5 points for more ego, build up, and legendary comedic payoff. The golden rule was never showing your cards to a girl. Robert Romanus sold that advice with the icy precision of a world-class scholar. It felt strangely official. Hide your feelings and always spin a classic rock anthem to set the mood. What came next? Carry the aura that your current location is the only destination. He made a teenage scam sound like a universal truth. And back then, We hung on every syllable. We all tried that cool lean at parties, nodding as if the world revolved around us. Did it work? Standing by the punch bowl, we looked for validation while the movie characters faced a total train wreck. Predictably, seeking romance tips from a street hustler rarely leads to a happily ever after. Yet, in 1982, Damone offered awkward kids a sense of belonging they desperately needed. It is yours for the taking. Tell me, what was the heart of that plan? Raw, unearned confidence that defied every ounce of logic. 40 years later, we still treat his lies as gospel. He is still single, but his legend lives on. Amy Heckerling arrived as the fearless visionary who redefined youth cinema with her bold debut. What a start. She reshaped the journalism of Crowe into a painfully relatable, hilarious journey through suburban growing pains. At 27, fresh from film school, she took command of a cast of complete unknowns. A huge gamble. Between food courts and raw teenage antics, she kept the studio brass on the edge of their seats. Her unique touch separated the film from typical 80s fluff that relied solely on cheap gags. Most directors would have just chased easy laughs and a quick payday. Heckerling chose empathy over mockery, making us laugh while touching something much deeper. We laugh at the failures because we lived them. Balancing humor with a kind heart is a rare gift. She eventually mastered the 90s with Clueless, proving she truly understood the soul of every generation. That innate instinct blossomed at Ridgemont High, where a newcomer changed the game forever. She unearthed humanity beneath the raunchy surface. Most first films fade, but hers stayed golden. Heckerling set the standard. Then came the rock icon's secret cameo. A tiny detail from 1982 often goes unnoticed by even the most dedicated fans. Brad Hamilton sat humiliated in a fast food uniform, a victim of his own teenage reality. Can you picture it? The woman laughing in the next car was none other than rock legend Nancy Wilson. A perfect moment. The guitar powerhouse who defined an era of rock and roll was right there. Dating the writer has its perks. When your partner pens a cultural phenomenon, you might get a scene. Life has a way of putting you on camera when you least expect it. Their later marriage in 1986 solidified a creative bond that spanned decades of music. She eventually composed the haunting melodies for his deep dive into rock journalism. The stranger at the red light became the architect of a film's emotional soundtrack. A beautiful circle. It was a fleeting glance that turned into a lifetime of art. Then there was Mr. Hand, the stern shadow over the sunny world of Spicoli. He was the ultimate buzzkill, but he was no caricature. He was born from a very real, very strict reality, a formal greeting that signaled the end of fun. The character mirrored a teacher who guarded his schedule with a terrifying religious fervor. Every stolen glance or rogue snack was an unforgivable heist of his precious minutes. It felt personal. They avoided casting a loudmouthed villain, choosing Ray Walston to bring a cold authority instead. He was a pro who knew that a silent glare carried more weight than any scream. He simply watched. Authority often speaks in a whisper. Walston didn't need to yell to command the room, didn't he? He spoke with the quiet intensity of an auditor cataloging your mistakes. Mr. Hand worked because he wasn't a monster. He just wanted us to respect the past and stop treating the school like a music festival campsite. But at 16, watching him destroy those front row seats felt like a crime against our very existence. Truly. Hey, man, what seems to be your hang-up? Looking back, he was likely the only adult focused on our future. Even if he was the campus antagonist, he was the reminder that regardless of the California sun, the professional world was waiting to start our shifts. Number 2. The $5 million dice roll. The strategy for this high school story was very simple. Give a rookie filmmaker $5 million to make a lighthearted flick with low expectations and high energy. Hope for some quick ticket sales and move on. Have you seen any classic rock albums lately? I haven't seen a single one. I moved 34 units last week while you were out playing. Nobody expected awards or a legacy. It was just intended as a mix of hormones, popcorn, and youth. The public had other plans. Though, as the film earned $27 million, crushing its small budget. Kids were sneaking through back doors and bringing entire groups of friends back for multiple weekend viewings. A mature comedy with 0 stars produced for what Hollywood usually spends on catering and coffee. Yet it beat out blockbusters with massive budgets. I came by to help with your algebra on this sunny afternoon. Executives were terrified the adult rating would bankrupt them, certain that no student would ever show up. Meanwhile, we were out in the world finding every possible way to bypass the theater security, between tired ushers and older cousins. Every teenager found their way to a seat in that darkened room. That minor investment became a cultural phenomenon that completely changed how Hollywood viewed the teenage experience. They realized that if you show the messy truth of being young, the audience will reward you for it. The studio got their profit, and we got a memory that still feels like home. It was a fair deal. Number 1. The secret agent student who gave us our favorite surfer. While most authors research from a distance, Cameron Crowe decided to actually sit in the back of a classroom. He wasn't some visiting writer with a badge. He was just another face in the crowd of seniors. In 1979, a 22-year-old convinced a San Diego principal to let him go undercover. He spent 12 months enduring gym classes and mystery meat just to capture the soul of the American teenager. This wasn't a bored amateur. He had already toured with legendary bands and written for the biggest music magazines. After seeing the world with rock stars, he found a better story in the local school parking lot. He recorded every rumor, every nervous dance, and the kid who actually had a pizza delivered to his desk. Every detail was preserved like a dispatch from a reporter stationed on the front lines of youth. That is why the movie feels so real, avoiding the fake slang usually written by older men in suits. These lines were born in real hallways and food courts, not polished in a sterile office in Hollywood. It was only after his writing hit the shelves that his classmates realized their friend was a spy. That quiet guy who never said much was actually capturing every embarrassing moment for the entire world. The iconic beach bum who influenced every stoner character since was based on the actual kids Crowe befriended. Why do you choose to waste my afternoon like this? I honestly have no idea. The poor kid struggling at the burger joint was a tribute to all the students surviving bad summer jobs, while his peers were paying bills. Crowe was busy saving a piece of our history for the future. He helped launch superstars and gave us a script that we are still reciting 4 decades later. It all happened because a young man raised his hand and claimed his name was just Dave. He was just the new kid. And that is where the magic began for all of us. From secret journalism to the birth of cinema legends. This story was always more than a simple comedy. If you loved this trip back in time, join our community for more stories about the movies we love. Remember, even when the sun is shining, the world is still watching the clock. Thanks for being here. This has been a look back at our favorite years.